My stepfather left me a key in his will with no explanation, and when I finally found what it unlocked, I understood why my mother remarried him. Roland died when I was 22, 3 years after I'd moved out and stopped returning his calls. He'd married my mom when I was 14, right after my real dad left us with nothing but debt and a foreclosed house. Roland seemed fine at first. Quiet, methodical, worked in IT. He never tried to replace my dad or force a relationship, just existed in our space, paid the bills, and left me alone. But I resented him anyway. He was there when my dad should have been. He fixed the things my dad had broken. He showed up to my high school graduation when my real father didn't bother. After his funeral, the lawyer handed me a small brass key with a handwritten note. For Devin, Storage Unit 247, Riverside Facility. The answer is here. Mom looked as confused as I felt. She'd gotten the house, his savings, everything else. Just this cryptic key for me. I ignored it for 2 months. Then curiosity won. The storage unit was small, maybe 10x10, packed with filing boxes, each one labeled with a year, starting the year Roland married my mom. I opened the first box and found folders, each one containing printed emails, bank statements, and legal documents, all about my father. I sat on the concrete floor and started reading. Roland had tracked everything, every offshore account my dad had hidden, every asset he'd transferred to his mistress, every cent he'd stolen from my mom before abandoning us. The files were meticulous, spreadsheets showing exactly how much my father had taken and where it went, but there was more. The next boxes contained evidence of Roland's work. He'd spent 3 years building a legal case, hired forensic accountants, consulted with lawyers, documented everything my father had done. Then, right before he got too sick to continue, he'd filed a massive lawsuit on my mother's behalf. Tucked in the final box was a letter dated 2 weeks before his death. Devin, by the time you read this, I'll be gone. The lawsuit will be finalized in 6 months. Your mother will get back everything your father stole, plus damages. I never told her because I didn't want her to hope and then lose again if it failed. I'm telling you because you need to know, I didn't marry her to replace your father. I married her because she deserved someone who would fight for her, and you deserve to know that love isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet, patient, and strategic. The key to the house is in envelope 3B. I bought it last year. It's in your name. You'll understand when you see the address. My hands shook as I found envelope 3B. The house was on Riverside Drive, the same street we'd lost when I was 13. Same neighborhood, same tree-lined street where I'd learned to ride my bike. I drove there immediately. It wasn't our old house, that had been torn down, but it was 3 doors down, freshly renovated, with a sold sign in the yard dated 2 months ago. I used the key. Inside, the house was empty except for one room, a bedroom, already furnished. My old bedroom furniture, the set my mom had sold when we lost everything. Roland must have tracked it down and bought it back piece by piece. On the dresser sat one more envelope. I opened it with trembling fingers. Inside were DNA test results, multiple tests, all comparing samples from me to samples from Roland. We were a match. Roland was my biological father. The dates aligned. My mom had known him before she met my dad. The man who raised me for 13 years, who I'd called father, who'd abandoned us, he'd known all along I wasn't his. That's why he'd left so easily. That's why he'd stolen everything. That's why Roland had come back into our lives, not as a stepfather, as my real father, fixing what he'd let another man destroy. I stood in that empty house, holding proof that my entire life had been built on a lie, and realized I didn't know which truth was worse, that the man I'd hated had been protecting me all along, or that my mother had carried this secret for 22 years. My phone buzzed. A text from a number I didn't recognize. You found it. Now we need to talk about what your mother still doesn't know. Meet me at the address below. Come alone. Trust me like you should have trusted him. I couldn't fit what happens next in this short video. Watch the rest down below.